Welcome to Kenzo Gaming. Today I would like to give you an overview about Wargame European Escalation. It is an amazing game, and at the same time I have to say that actually it is not as popular as it should be. It is probably one of the best real-time strategy games ever made. And let's have a look why. First of all, what's so special about this game is that you can zoom in and zoom out completely, and then you can see the whole battlefield, or you can actually zoom in so much that you can get really close to the units which you want to look at. Another thing which is really good is that due to this zooming, the units are now allowed to shoot at realistic ranges, unlike in most other games where a soldier is shooting not more than 20 meters. Here you actually have realistic ranges, and tanks are shooting at a range of 2 kilometers, and the artillery can be shooting easily across the whole map. For example, you could have an artillery here back at your home base, and it could shoot all the way at the enemy home base. Now, you might be thinking that the artillery might become overpowered. Well, actually it is not overpowered, because although it can shoot really far, and in most cases it will be able to shoot anywhere on the map, at the same time it becomes very inaccurate if you are not spotting the position at which you're firing, and that's when recon comes in. So you're using recon units to spot the enemy, then you can shoot a little bit more precise, but still you have to take into account also that the artillery is also using munition. Just like all the other units in the game, all units have some amount of ammunition. You can see here, for example, this one has 8,000 bullets in its machine gun, and at the same time it also has a fuel. And as it gets used up, you can send supply trucks to refill it, and you can also then refill your supply trucks in the FOBs. Another feature of this game is that your units are actually pretty smart. You just put them somewhere, and then when they see the enemy, they'll engage it, and you don't need to babysit them and give them some orders like now shoot a fire rocket or some flare. Basically they'll be fighting, and you can focus on your strategy. Whereas in many other games you have to be using some special abilities for each of the units. Well, in this game you don't do that, because in this game you can actually field even hundreds of units, and when hundreds of units are swarming, there will be simply no time to micromanage all of them. So these are the main features of the game, and let's have a look on the style of the game. How is it made? How is it working? So basically the game starts in a way that there are over 450 units which you can use. You can play as NATO, or you can play as Pact, and then you can play different kind of games against a computer or against real players, 1-on-1s, 2-on-2s, 3-on-3s, 4-on-4s, and also other combinations. You can even play 2 against 4 if you like. And the next thing is that the game works as follows. There are different kind of modes which you can play in. There is destruction, conquest, economy, but the most common one is destruction. And in destruction you start out with a certain amount of points which you can spend on buying units, which you deploy at the beginning of the game, and then you use them to take over sectors. With the sectors you can get more money, and with this money you can then send in more reinforcements through sectors which have arrows. For example, you can see Alpha has an arrow here. And then as you take over the sectors, you will be of course engaging the enemy, and you will be defeating the enemy. And when you destroy the enemy units, you will be getting points for the value of the units which you destroy. Also in this game you cannot just send a big blob of units and send them to the enemy and just hope and expect that if you have more units that you're going to win automatically. No, this is not how it works. That's also what you have artillery for. That when there is a big concentration of units, they just shell it with artillery and you're going to decimate the enemy forces. That's why in this game it's actually made in a very realistic way, that people are spreading out their forces. They try to defend everywhere, and in this game it's also important to take into account that someone might be flanking you, and you should be also using strategies which real generals would be employing in a real war. Then, as soon as you destroy a certain amount of points, you're going to win the game. For example, this game is set at 6,000 or 7,000, and also the game can end if all the command vehicles are destroyed. And what are command vehicles? Basically, these are very expensive units. They cost 200 points each, and when you bring them to a sector, then you will be earning some revenue from the sector. For example, here, Golf, I have a command vehicle here, and every 4 seconds I'm earning 1 credit, which I can then use to send more reinforcements. So as soon as one side loses all CUs, the command units, then the game is over. For example, in this game the target was 7,000 points to achieve, and we have won with 6,300. Why? Because we have destroyed all the other command vehicles. One more thing I would like to add is that a lot of people are comparing Wargame to World in Conflict. Well, the only similarity which these two games have is that they both take place in the Cold War, and that's it. No other similarities whatsoever. The difference is just astounding. While World in Conflict is a game which is focusing on micromanagement, here it is more macro. Where in World in Conflict you have to babysit all your units and telling them, okay, now you fire flares, now you fire your rocket. Well, in a war game, your units actually have some brain, and they can do these things without you always having to be around and telling them what to do. They'll be just fighting their fight while you can focus on something more important, such as positioning your troops and developing new strategies which you're going to use. And this of course allows you also to field much bigger amount of troops. You can have literally hundreds of units swarming across the map, and you can be using all different types which there are: tanks, infantry, air, support, and so on. While in World in Conflict you always had to focus on one role. You should get the game if you appreciate artillery firing across the whole map, or you like a realistic yet accessible real-time strategy game, or simply are interested in the Cold War era, or simply want to play some RTS game which is not a clicking contest. Please rate, comment and subscribe.